Hi, I'm Charlie Collins, and this is the Donegal Sport Hub Donegal Daily Championship Podcast, brought to you in association with Kellys Centra, multi-award-winning store, Mountaintop Letterkenny, providing 24-hour service, 7 days a week. And thanks once again to Kellys Centra here at the Mountaintop for their support and our coverage of the championship here on Donegal Daily, Donegal Sport Hub. It's week 4 and we've got down to the quarter-final stage. We're going to be looking briefly back at what happened for that to arrive, and then of course forward to the matches coming up this weekend. With me again is my colleague Chris McNulty. Francie Friel's back, and we have to welcome John Haran back and thank Frank Craig for sitting in last week. And of course, since he left us, John has become an All-Ireland winner, so we're going to pay homage to him here today. John, on everybody's behalf, congratulations. When I spoke to Val Murray last week, I made the point to him, you guys have been trying so hard for the last 3 or 4 years. This was the icing on the cake for you.
It was great, Charlie. It was great crack and great celebrations when we won it. And as you say, I 4 years, Charlie, the Masters was back up and running. And I remember I went back the first year, I was still playing for St. John's. I remember we played Glentys in the quarter-final in Balbafane. I was marking Leo McClune, and it did all right to them. But the following week we were playing Tyrone in the Masters, and Jared McGrenna was there. He said, "Come on up now." So I said, "I'll go up," and I thought I'd waltz around and score points and catch ball. But I tell you, I got my eyes
tougher
open.
Than that.
Tougher than that there. So we stuck at it, and we won the Shield the first year. That's outside the top 4. And then the second year we got beat by Mayo in extra time down in Ballymote in the semi-final. And last year we got beat by the Dubs in a replay up in Cavan. So this year, we stepped it up a wee bit. Jerry, it's not taken overly seriously, but the boys train once a week and the matches are on during the summer, and it's nice and handy, and there's no video analysis or no big team meetings, so it's good, Charlie. And as I said, you were at the Down game earlier on in Balbafane, that we'd earmarked a few boys if we could get them, and that they had kind of said that they would like to play, but they were still playing for the club. So, Johnny McCaffrey and Peter McHugh and Jared McGill came up from Cardiff for goalkeeper, and he was brilliant. And Barry Monaghan kind of was the icing on the cake. Barry was a big difference there. And there's a couple other players, Shimmy Friel and Big Brian McLaughlin was still there. And we got a couple other boys. Peter Devlin came from Morris this year, he was a big help. I don't know Peter, never knew him, but he was a big help. He had a great final for us at full forward and midfield, and he came out for the end of it at midfield and caught a couple of balls and gave the last ball in the sticky. So great, Charlie, great celebrations afterwards.
Fantastic.
And all the children are there, and it was good, because when we won a wee bit earlier on in our careers, we had no weigh-ins, and now when the weigh-ins are there, it's nice for the weigh-ins, so it was good, Charlie. Listen.
Well, I was standing beside, in between John Brock and McFadden and Charlie Boner briefly on Sunday out at the Glen, and I says it's great to be standing in between 2 All-Ireland winners. And I think Charlie quickly reminded me that the Glenswilly have now doubled their quota of All-Ireland winners, them 2 after Big Neil and Murphy.
Well, fair play to them, good crack, and I suppose now's probably the time to pay thanks Charlie for all his help and all his dedication during 3 years, because he announced his retirement in the dressing room afterwards, and I was thankful because I've been carrying him for the last 3 years at midfield. So,
you were glad to hear it.
I was glad to hear it. So, fair play to Charlie. He gave great service to Glenswilly and Donegal Masters. So, Charlie, if there's anyone watching out there,
you're walking a bit straighter today, John. The weight's off your back.
Anyone out there now, thinking about coming up to the Masters next year, I'm looking for a midfield partner. So, but on a more serious note, Charlie, it is great for boys, and as I said there, Peter Devlin from Morris and boys maybe from junior clubs or smaller clubs,
sure.
We have Barry Monaghan and Johnny, and then boys that Shimmy Friel and Brian McLaughlin that played a bit of county, Sticky Ward in there. But there's a lot of boys there that haven't played at that level, but great players like them. Charlie Doherty, our joint captain at 51. Charlie, he was absolutely amazing. He made a block at the start of the second half where if Dublin had got a goal, it could have been lights out because they had a strong breeze, and Charlie, he was phenomenal, and he was great for them boys, Charlie.
Brilliant. Well done to Val Murray and everybody involved in the Masters. Many congratulations from us all here. Let's get back to the action, Francie, at the weekend. We were here a month ago thinking about who would make the last 8. Is it reasonable to say the only one that hasn't made it, that maybe is the biggest surprise for us, is Glenswilly?
I think that's about right, Charlie. Obviously everything else is as it is, Post Glenfin, maybe suppose they were probably mentioned by a couple as well. So probably no. Listen, we weren't far away with it. We were thinking all right, and Glenswilly probably is the big surprise. All right.
And Chris, quarterfinals are set up. We're going to look at them, but just looking back to the weekend there, Glenswilly beat Milford. Milford came strong. Glenswilly beat them. Big regrets for Glenswilly in terms of their performance against Four Masters, because that really is the one that made all the difference. They got a good point up in Glenfin. They finished off with a victory against Milford, but in between they lost that home game.
I suppose you could feel it on Sunday evening, when the Glen were starting to get well on top in early in the second half, and a few fellows up beside us up in the line, how many more do we need, because they were looking at the scoreline from Glenfin. But once it became apparent then that game was beginning to run away from them, the regret for Glenswilly was already gone back to the previous week. They beat Milford on Sunday, got the job done, but that defeat to Four Masters is going to haunt Glenswilly for a long time, because as everybody knows, it's a long way back to start of next year's championship.
Yeah.
And you go again, and to get back in the horse again, it's going to take another 12 months. Like it's a long road back. And for Glenswilly, as we touched on it last week, they're a team that they've had serious success over the last few years, winning 3 Dr. Maguires. And they would have earmarked themselves as quarter-finalists, and we know in Glenswilly on their day they can always put it up to a team, so not even now to get that crack. It would be a serious disappointment for those boys going to watch the games this weekend.
Yeah. Is it the end of an era, John? You've been out in the middle there against this Glenswilly team that, as Chris said, won 3 county championships, which is some achievement for a club the size of Glenswilly. Is this the end of it now?
Probably, Charlie, it probably isn't. They would probably know that. Like, speaking to Jared and some of the Glenswilly boys, they would say that too many of their players are over 30 rather than under 30, and let's be honest, Big Neil's probably might be his last year, because was struggling with injury, and with Glenswilly they're always maybe hoping against hope that Neil will be able to have a big game and get the ball into Michael. And we all get old, Charlie, and you think you still have it, but you're going out there, and if Neil's not training that much, there's a young fella there and he wants to make a name for himself, and he's going to break ball on Neil Gallagher and he's going to run him into the ground, and that just happens, and we're all human, and Neil can't go on forever, and if Neil goes, it's going to be a big blow for them, so Cian Bonner, probably too many of their players, Jerry, are the wrong side of 30, so I probably can't see Glenswilly winning another county title for a long time. But
who knows?
It's probably something like they'll probably still, because they have the likes of Murphy and they have that presence, they'll still be able to be relatively competitive. It's not to say they're just going to sort of fall off the cliff on us, but in terms of winning championships, you'd probably say now that sort of,
it'll take a while.
That is gone, yeah.
It'll take a while. Well, fair play to Milford, won in that group in Glenfin, then of course beat Four Masters comfortably, John, which maybe shouldn't have been a surprise, but was in terms of the way Four Masters played against Glenswilly. They never got up to the mark at all on Sunday, apparently.
No, that's it. That group was so mixed up, because you had Milford going to Four Masters the first week and winning, and then Glenfin getting a good draw and probably should have bet Glenswilly the first day. So then we thought that Glenfin, some of us tipped them to go to Milford and win, and they didn't perform at all, got a couple of late goals, so it was over and back, and you couldn't get any kind of form going at all. Then the Four Masters had the great victory over Glenswilly. You think they might put it up to Glenfin, but Glenfin probably, for whatever reason, took their eye off the ball against Milford. Maybe thought they had the hard work done against Glenswilly the week before, so it was very mixed up, Jerry. But Glenfin, as Francie would have said, they're always a sticky team, and they got the job done, and they're in the quarterfinals, and they're happy. So that group was very mixed up. But the result that blew the whole thing up was the Four Masters result, and it just mixed, just created havoc for everyone, and Glenswilly were the team that got caught in the end up.
Credit to Milford and Glenfin for getting out of it, Francie.
Oh, definitely so. Glenswilly were posing everybody's eyes. They were the team when they draw. They were going to top the group, and it didn't materialise that way. And listen, if you're looking at Four Masters, Four Masters beat Glenswilly, away, and going to Glenfin, they know if they beat Glenfin, they were going to get out of the grip, and they just didn't get up for it at all. And Glenfin were up for it, because they thought the Milford game, they didn't play well. They got a draw against Glenswilly in the first one, and then they really went to town on.
And they had that big incentive, knowing if they won by a reasonable score, Glenswilly wasn't going to catch them.
No, listen, I suppose that was the big one too. It was a big points difference for Glenswilly to get back, and they just didn't materialise that way. And listen, you have to give serious credit to Milford. They topped the group, so they were in the easier side of the draw when the teams were drawn out there on Sunday evening. So listen, that's where it's at now.
Just, Chris, let's move on to Group B. I was down in Killybegs. I've seen all their games up in Glenties. They did okay. Glenties were always going to win it. They struggled to beat McCool's, and they gave a good second half performance against Dunlow, but there was periods of that game they led comfortably, and then Dunlow came back and got level at half time. They had a great spell, 3 or 4 points after that, but they were always kind of favourites because they had the 2 home games, but they're into kind of tough territory now, and I'm going to talk about it later on. A hell of a draw against Kilcar, but credit to them for getting out ahead of McCool's there.
I suppose the thing about it, in Glenfin probably would say the same. Getting the 2 home games in situations like that where the margins are very, very thin is huge. Even Milford beating Glenfin, I think it was one of those days where home advantage, I mean, a lot happens in the pitch and all, but home advantage was so key in a few of those. For Killybegs, if they had 2 away games, if that thing was flipped and they were, say, going away to McCool's and Balbuffet, McCool's probably now would be maybe fancying their chances a wee bit more going through.
Yeah.
But I look, credit to Killybegs, they overcame Owen Bangalore, obviously, for a club that's building like Killybegs, a massive, massive loss. As we've said in the last couple of weeks, they're well reliant on Hughie McFadden, but he's producing the goods. He got 7 points again at the weekend, and the return of Paul McGinley. There's a few other players there as well that, they're a team and a club that's coming and building well, and it's important for them to get into these sort of do or die knockout contests now and be playing on the big stages, because ultimately that is going to help them going forward.
Absolutely.
And just on the whole thing here, Charlie.
Yeah.
Last year, Killybegs played McCool's and McCool Park, and McCool's beat them.
That's right.
So that is different in the home and away.
Yeah. Another man who played very well for Killybegs in their 3 matches is Daniel Breslin. He's sort of playing a sweeper's role there for them and has done very well. After the game down in Killybegs on Saturday evening, I had a chat with Danny.
We knew they had everything to play for, as we had, so look, we had a good start and we let them back into it, and we weren't definitely taking nothing for granted going into the second half.
Few nerves about at half time, I'm sure 7-all, and they really had the momentum going up to half time.
Look, we let them back into it. I think we were conceding easy frees, and when you have a man like Danny Rogers coming up to put them over, he's quality, and that's something we spoke about at half time, was I suppose letting them back into it with soft frees. So we were probably more disciplined in the second half.
Daniel Breslin from Killybegs. John, Naomh Conaill favours to go through, beat Killybegs by 6, very comfortable against Dunlow, beat McCool's by 3. McCool's beaten by Killybegs by 2 and beaten by Glenties by 3, so the margins were small for them. But Naomh Conaill have come through, maybe not as convincingly or as impressively as some might have liked to see.
Possibly, Charlie, but I think, even the Killybegs game the first day, they were well on top of the game 1 early on, and they probably took the foot off the pedal, so you can't read too much into that. The second day, big score up against Dunlow down there, which isn't an easy place to go, so, and then last weekend, Charlie, they were through. I know they probably knew they were going to top the table, so probably, were watching themselves a wee bit, because there was always the chance that whatever team came first in the group, that there was going to get St Michael's or St Junans. So you don't know what managers are thinking about. They're thinking that these games are coming quick and fast now this next few weeks. So Glenties probably just took their eye off the ball. They won the game, but they were always going to be comfortable, Charlie. And it's hard to get up for them kind of games. Let's be honest. When
you're there already,
and you're going to win. Listen, they were always going to beat McCool's at home, so it's hard, Charlie, to get yourself up for every game, especially when it's not do or die. So I wouldn't be too much into it. Listen, we've talked enough here the last few weeks about Naomh Conaill. They have a lot of good players, Jerry. They're hurting from the last 2 finals, and they seem to be playing more expansive football and getting better, getting more scores. So they're going to be a force yet.
Yeah. Liam McAloon spoke to Chris after the game. Let's hear what he had to say.
Aye, good enough now. It was a tight battle, very physical game, and it was tough game but I suppose from our own point of view, it's just good to be in the quarterfinals. I don't think we were definitely qualified before this, but we obviously are now. So it's good to be in the quarterfinal and just waiting now to see how the draw goes, really.
Liam McAloon there. So Killybegs and Naomh Conaill coming out of that group. Kilcar beating Termon comfortably. No surprise there. Francie, were you impressed with them?
Oh, definitely. I was very impressed with Kilcar. I think they've got unbelievable at the tackle. I think that's the thing that they've got. They're for wee men. They must be spending a lot of time in the gym. They've really bulked up. I was very impressed with their tackling and their counter attacking. Every time they counter attacked us, it looked like a goal. Yeah. Just so much pace going forward, and they're going to be a big threat.
John, they've put up a huge score. I think they're averaging 25 points a game, which is pretty impressive.
It is, Charlie, and what Francie says there, if they're going to hit you like that there and they look like they're getting a goal, it's very intimidating for teams. And we need to be realistic here. It's easy for us sitting here to criticise maybe Naomh Conaill 2 years ago in the county final, going negative. They got hammered the year before by Kilcar.
Yeah.
And like, as a St Eunice man, maybe if we were to play them next week or whatever, I might think I'll go toe to toe. But the reality is, if boys are training all year and the manager wants to win a championship or win a game, and you're playing Kilcar,
you got to think about it.
Needs must, and it's easy. It is sometimes easy, Charlie, to criticise teams going defensive against Kilcar or whatever. I know Mark McHugh had something in the paper maybe about teams trying to keep down the score and that, which is fair enough. But like, if you're on the other side of that, there, it is very difficult to say, are we going to go toe to toe against these boys and try and outshoot them? Like, it's going to be very hard. So teams are going to probably go defensive against them and come up with scenarios and try and maybe nick it on a wet night, or keep the score down and maybe frustrate them. So listen, Cherry Kilcar, the form team, they probably, we talked about them in Gweedore, but they probably, everyone's probably saying now that they probably are the number one team. A lot of people are tipping them. So Cherry, they're a formidable outfit. They're playing great. They've won the league unbeaten. Everything's going for them. As we said before, the one thing that might come against them maybe is a bad day and maybe in a tight match where they haven't been tested all year. There could be a wee wobble there, but we're clutching at straws, Charlie, to try and say.
We'll chat about the quarter final. Chris, just one on finishing that group. Bundoran looked in trouble. Termon might have had a wee bit of hope early in the game down in Malin, but they came very strong in the second half, and in fairness to them, they've been impressive. They went to Termon and won, which was hard to do. They've gone to Malin and won. Okay, people were expected, but Malin, there was a kick left in Malin, in fairness to them. But Bundoran, no pushovers. They've got a hard draw again, which we'll talk about, but a good result for them.
It was a good result. I suppose they scored 222. He scored 222 any day. It's impressive. But again, for me, and we touched on this with a few teams over the last couple of weeks, they conceded 214, and you were conceding 214 now. You're on to play Gweedore. That would have to be a worry. I mean, in fairness to them, they kept the heads and they came back. Malin looked. There was a time we were thinking, geez, Termon are going to get through here, because you were wondering where Bundoran were going to get them scores out of, and we were on the way into Glenswilly and the word came through that they'd got a couple of goals, Alan Russell and Tommy, but that concession of 214 would have to be a worry.
But just think on that, Charlie, nobody understands the 2 hours and 25 minutes from Bundoran to Malin.
Long trip.
That game,
Dublin nearly.
That game was at 3 o'clock, so you're just chatting. It's a long trip to get. It's not where a county teams are doing overnights and just land to the pitch. And then get ready up for a championship game. Maybe listen in to a manager for 20 or 30 minutes or half an hour what he's chatting about,
and then go 2 goals down.
They were 8 to 9 points down, so it was a remarkable recovery.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move on to the Section A, which was played, of course, at the weekend as well. We're not going to do much with the Gweedore game because they won comfortably as we expected against Ardra to top that group. St Michael, St Eunan's, John, did St Eunan's get out of it, escape with a draw to get them through? Did they deserve it? What was your view of it?
It's probably hard. Well, I would like to think, Charlie, that they possibly deserved it, because they showed, good courage and good determination in the last few minutes. Like we trailed by a point 3 times in the second half, I think. So the pressure was on us, because if we were a point down or if we lost, we were out. So the boys fought back well to get them 3 points. To pull it back each time to level. Conall Dunn got the equaliser.
They led by 5-2.
Yes.
In the first half, and seemed to be a bit of momentum at that stage, but fell away then.
Fell away badly, Charlie, and Sean Patton made a great save in the thing. The first half, Charlie, I thought was quite poor for long periods. Both teams were making bad mistakes, dropping the ball, kicking it wide into the keeper's hands. Then we got the burst to go 3 points in a row, 24th, 25th, 26th minute. Looked good, and then all of a sudden Dunfanny got another, or St Michael's got another point, and then Michael Langan had the great goal chance. Second half, Charlie, I thought was very entertaining. It was tit for tat. It was up and down. Good some game. Great points. Kept in it. We looked good at one stage. Did we go 3 up in the second half? Two up in the second half, and then they came back and they had the crowd behind them and they went a point up, and we, so it was tit for tat, Charlie. And Niall O'Donnell came in well, made a brilliant run. Maybe should have tapped it over the bar in hindsight, but went for the juggler, and Mark Anthony made a great save. You know what I mean? And it was helter skelter at that stage, Charlie. Everyone was.
When Daniel hit that last point, did you think it was over, John?
Well, I was looking at the watch, Charlie. And at that stage, Rory got sent off, or did he get? No, he got sent off afterwards. Which was it's a bit silly from Rory at this stage of his career. We have to call him out for that. There, he shouldn't have done it, and he should have. you know,
Get
we
ahead.
needed them on the pitch to get the
'cause
kick
the
out.
game was still there for a
The game was
draw.
still there
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
draw, you know. So thankfully, Conall Dunn, you know, the veteran that he is, and the cool head, and he stuck it with the left foot. St Michael's had a chance at the end, you know. I thought might have been another couple of, you know, the St Michael's people were saying afterwards that maybe the wrong man shot, you know, in time, maybe to work it in or get maybe Christie or someone on it. But he was the right bit out, and he went
Under
for
pressure as
under
well.
pressure. So you know, Charlie, maybe we slightly got lucky, but I thought the boys, you know, played reasonably well. But you know, we're lacking a wee bit of firepower up front, Charlie.
We'll
you
talk
know
about that, John. We'll come to
aye.
that. Francie, St Michael's missed the beat again. Had Gweedore by the juggler if they had taken the opportunity 2 weeks ago. A draw against St Eunice, a game they could. 2 home games. They got 1 point. They've nobody to blame but themselves.
No, definitely so. I think we alluded to it last week. I think definitely missed the boat against Gweedore. And listen, I wasn't at the game myself, but just going with what people are saying, you know, 2 home games, and you know, I suppose, listen, good opposition they're playing. No, not playing no dud team. You know, Gweedore and St Eunice, like so. But like when you're at home, and especially they know that what they had to do, and you know, especially when they were, you know, a point up by nearly down to 14 men, injury time. You know, you have to see the game out, and then even the last chances we said there, like maybe the wrong person the ball, but you need to be composed there. You know, you probably reverse that back if that was Eunice, they would just got it to the shooter and he kicks it over the bar. You know, you have to be accountable for it. You know.
Chris, you were at St Eunice against Ardra in O'Donnell Park, and they scored late, piled on the scores late on. What's your general impression, having seen them in the last 2 outings?
I'm still, like I said, I think the first week here that I didn't really know what to think of St Eunice, and I've seen them 2 out of 3 times, and I'm really no further forward. Like I think in terms of their defensive setup and their goalkeeper, they're probably as good as anybody in the championship. Conor Donald, I've been very impressed with him the couple of weeks I've seen him, but you just worry on their over-reliance on Niall O'Donnell in terms of that bit of firepower. If a team comes with a man or with a system that keeps Niall quiet, you would wonder where St Eunice are going to get the thing out of. Just going back to the game on Sunday, you know, we chat about wee moments in games, but that save from Sean Patton on Michael Langan was absolutely massive. Now, I know Mark Anthony did make one at the other end, but in the context of how the game was going now, if you're St Michael's, you'd probably think Michael should have buried that and maybe wouldn't focus on the save, but it was a magnificent save from Sean.
Well, Patton's done it so often this year. Actually, I spoke to Sean Patton after the game, and here's what he had to say. Well, Sean Patton's with me. Sean, through to the quarter-finals, but only just.
Yeah, just about. Draw wasn't what we were coming here for today. It did get us over the line, but we were aiming to top the group. It didn't happen, but listen, we'll move forward and we'll learn from today, definitely.
Yeah. I suppose the first 15 minutes showed us what type of game this was going to be. I think it was 2 points apiece at that stage. It was going to be tight. Opened up a bit in the second half, but nobody ever was really able to take command of it.
No, it was a tight game the whole way. It was close. We went on, I think it was 2 points up at half time. The score was never really much more than 2 points the whole game. I think we probably gifted them scores rather than them working good scores. Now, to be fair to them, they did kick some good scores, but I think we gave them more scores than we should have. There was loads of mistakes, but that'll be worked on and hopefully kick on now into the quarter-final.
Yeah. Sean Patton talking to me after the game. So we're left with a quarter-final lineup of Kilcar versus Killybegs, Naomh Conaill against Glenfin, Milford against St Eunice, 3 derby matches there, and the champions Gweedore taking on Bundoran. The relegation playoffs, I just mentioned them now. Four Masters versus Malin, Ardra versus Dunlow. John, let's start with Milford St Eunice. St Eunice have scored 136 so far in the championship, 1-3, 118 and 12 points. Niall O'Donnell has scored 117 of them. They have a serious problem in terms of their forward line. Defence, best defensive record in the championship, but you can't marry one with the other because it's all right keeping out scores, but you've got to get them at the other side. They need to improve up there.
They need to improve big time, Charlie, and with Rory Carr now being out injured, you know, it's not going to help things. Although Rory isn't a prolific scorer, he's a good target man, full forward. He can win it and lay it off, maybe create goal chances for other boys. A high ball coming in, you know, he's dangerous. So Rory's going to be a big loss. No, Charlie, you know, we're definitely not getting enough firepower. You could say that we're playing 3 half backs and the half forward line. You know, Brian McIntyre, James Kelly, Eamon Doherty, Peter McAnuff comes in there too, you know what I mean? So you're left with Owen McGeehan, Rory Carr and Niall O'Donnell. So, you know, Rory Carr's injured now. Owen McGeehan's only 19. Good young player, but he's only young. So we are struggling, Charlie. And people are saying to me, units are very defensive, but I think them players in the half forward line it's not that he's playing them because they're defenders and he wants them to run back and defend. I think it's just we don't have the forwards, Charlie.
Well, is it a case he's picking his best 15
and
there's 12 of them defenders?
Exactly. That's
or midfielders.
And a units man, Charlie, but I'm not privy to everything that goes on in the camp, and that's my reading of it. You know what I mean? Now, he might have to shake it up now and maybe go with Jamie Doherty, or there's talk of Lee McMonagall's going well for the reserves. I don't know. You've young Jordan O'Dowd there, has played a good bit of league football, but George's maybe more of a midfielder too, you know, young Conor O'Donnell. So Shane O'Donnell, Niall's brother, I think he might be injured. You know, he's got talent too, but they're very young, Jerry. So, you know, I know Chris is saying he doesn't know what to make of St Eunan's this year, and I'd be the same. But at the start of the year, Charlie, people asking me about Eunan's. I would say Eunan's are number 4 or 5th in the county, behind the big 3, and they're still probably there.
What we've seen so far proves that.
Yeah, but that's also proved, Charlie, that they've improved a wee bit. They were in a tough group, 2 away games, and they came out of it. So for a young, I'm happy enough, you know, with the progress that they've made. I think.
Well, they couldn't have done much more than make the quarter-final.
Exactly. But Charlie, definitely we're lacking the firepower up front, so it's going to take a big game from the midfielders, Conor O'Donnell, you know, Darryl McGrew, Eamon Doherty, Young McGettigan, to come through and kick a point, kick 2 points. Connor Park came up the last day. You know, Conor Morrison ran up a couple of times, 1 freeze, things like that there. So Eunan's probably aren't going to put up massive scores, Charlie. You know, as you've seen against Gweedore, 6 points, and 12 against our drag game you can take out of it. But we're not going to put up big scores, but as we say, we're going to make it hard for other teams. So
another thing about it, John, that probably will balance, because they're so good defensively, they're not going to concede big scores, so they're going to be thereabouts in the game anyway.
Oh, defensively the best. Can Milford rattle them, Francie? Have Milford enough there to give St Eunan's a real go at it?
I think, you know, listen, Milford, like John alluded to the earlier when we met up the first day, Milford beat them in a league game, right, you know. We do league games in the last.
He's tipped them to come through.
So listen, but I think from Milford, Milford last week definitely, you know, missed a trick. They had a chance to rest players last week. You know, this Glenswilly game meant nothing. I know you want to get momentum by playing your full team, but you have to think here about the bigger picture. The bigger picture was everybody else going hell for leather, not in a quarter final. Milford run the quarter final, and they could have rested some of their players. The likes of Chippy Barrett, the likes of Cahill McGettigan. Luke Barrett now has a hamstring injury, came off last day. That could have been all avoided, you know, and we give themselves a serious chance. Like, you're the first time in 26 years won a championship game. You have a chance to run the quarter final, a chance to get to the semi final, depending on how the draw went.
Be selfish
about it. You know, these chances don't come around very often, you know. Listen, you know, Milford still they'll give Eunan's a game because Milford have good forwards, you know, and that's one thing they'll probably look at. But there again, that's where Eunan's are strong on their defensive side of things, you know. So listen, Milford will give them a game, but I just think last week, you know, against Glenswilly, you know, they could kind of trying to beat Glenswilly when there was nothing really to play for, because Glenswilly they needed to win by so much, so they were going to get tore into them. It was going to be a physical game, it was going to be draining, and you could have avoided that, you know. You didn't have to rest everybody, but you could rest your key players, you know, and they'd been fit to play. Because I know if it had been other clubs, you just take example there now, this year Dublin and Tyrone played. The game meant nothing. They just played out 2 teams. You know, and two shadow teams. I know Naomh Conaill, they played Cloughanilly this week as well, and they knew they were in the relegation playoff, and they just rested 4 or 5 players because they were just thinking about the bigger picture. See, sometimes you have to think about the bigger picture.
Absolutely. You've seen Milford in the last 2 occasions, Chris, against Glenfin and against Glenswilly. Have they enough about them to give St Eunan's a rattle, to beat St Eunan's?
They definitely have enough about them to rattle St Eunan's, and I suppose if you're competitive in a game and you keep it tight, you're always on a chance of winning it. Big one at the weekend, Ronan Doherty came back in. Now, how fit he is and stuff, he only played maybe 8 or 9 minutes. He's been out for a long time, but he's been in there with county underage teams. They're going to need everybody. Like Luke came off there, we've seen him come off with a hamstring late on Sunday. That's got to be a worry with a 6-day turnaround. You know, the hamstring's not something really you can just patch up and play. If it's gone, it's gone. For me, there was probably a wee bit of maybe naivety. Like the more experienced team, like if that was a Naomh Conaill or Gweedore on Sunday, they would have sent out a second string team, made no apologies about it, and just said, look, we're looking at next
bigger
week.
Picture,
There's probably a thing in Milford, they've not had a great year up to now. They wanted to build on those couple of performances, but if you look then at the draw, they've probably got the toughest draw.
Oh, no doubt.
But at the same time, the way St Eunan's have been, drawing St Eunan's maybe isn't as onerous or isn't as formidable as it once might have been. So from that perspective, you know, there's probably a wee bit of regret there in Milford this week. Maybe we should have rested the boys.
Somebody said to me, I'm not going to name any names, it's the draw St Eunan's would have wanted and the one that wouldn't have wanted.
Yeah, and
that's a fair summary of it.
Probably fair enough.
Absolutely, Charlie, because with St John's in the group of death, whoever came second in that group
we
was
were
going to be
avoiding Kilcar and Naomh Conaill.
So
whereas Milford could have got Bundoran or Killybegs.
Absolutely. So some of the teams at top of the group was always going to get the second team in the group of death, which was could have been a St Michael's, St John's. And when Milford ended up top in the group, they would have been seen as the easier team out of the top four. So, but it's very important, Charlie, that St John's aren't complacent. As you said, it's probably the draw they wanted, in one sense, because it's easier than...
And that can make you a bit complacent.
Well, that's it. So, they need to be very, very careful, because as I said at the start here, at the first week, that Milford are a decent team when they're all there and they're at themselves, and they'll raise their game against St John's. They always do. They bet us in the park in the league. They give it everything, and they won't fear St John's. There's a big chance for them. So it's vital that St John's don't take them for granted, because if they do, they'll get caught.
Yeah. Call it. Chris?
I'm going to edge it with St Eunan's. I do think Milford have, if you look at, say, the likes of Joey and Luke, if Luke's fit in the middle of the park, there's the players to win that battle. They do have the forwards to trouble St Eunan's, but I think St Eunan's overall, with the structure they have at the back, they'll give very, very little away. Sean Patton's been, only Cluxon's probably going to get it because of the profile he has. Sean Patton would have been in all-star territory this year. Yeah. Niall is kicking well, and it's probably the one weakness in Milford as their rear guard. And if St Eunan's can find something else to supplement Niall, I'll give them the edge.
Francie?
St Eunan's.
John?
St Eunan's, just.
All right, I'll go with St Eunan's as well. Let's look at the other ones. Kilcar against Killybegs, big derby match. Probably not the draw that Killybegs would have wanted, Francie, but they've got it. And great rivalry there. A lot of the Kilcar boys were at the game on Saturday evening having an eye. They'll be happy enough to be taking on Killybegs, because I think they think it's a team they can beat.
Yeah, but it's a derby game, and derby games take on a world of their own. It's a bit like Kilcar. They're shooting the lights out at the minute, but Killybegs, I'm not saying Killybegs going to beat them, but Killybegs it'll be a it's a derby game, and they'll be reminded about what these games means if they don't know. Them younger people don't know what it means, But listen, you just have to think, even their big Huey scoring nearly half-ish, nearly the same as what Niall O'Donnell is, and they need to get more scores, and then the other side of that, Kilcar just shooting the lights out. The scores are getting the 3-18 against Termon, 1-20 against Bundoran, and 3-17 against Malin.
Huge.
Yes, wild scoring. You know what I mean?
75 points they've scored so far in the championship.
That's a serious bit of shooting, and Killybegs need to come up with a serious plan. And there's just the scores are coming from everywhere. It's not just one or two men. They're clipping in with everything. So that makes them even harder to play against. But listen, Killybegs, pose, as I keep repeating myself about the derby game, and it takes a world of its own on. You wouldn't know what would happen there. Some man you could pull a hamstring or on these games, and they're coming thick and fast. So listen, Killybegs will have to go with it, and see how it get on. But you just be thinking, Kilcar's power, their pace going up front, that they get the one.
They'll hardly go toe to toe with them, will they? John Cullinan and Rory Goller won't chance that.
Not a chance. I don't think you can really. If you try taking on that Kilcar team, you can end up Balbafay on a Saturday night on the lights. You go and try taking that on. You'd be absolutely. You can be over at half time. Yeah. You have to look at this. From a Killybegs, what is now on Saturday night going to give us the best chance of beating Kilcar? And it's not, no matter how much they look and analyse
outscoring them.
It's not going toe to toe. You have to look. This is a Kilcar team. Last year was a write off for them because of the big injuries they had. 2 years ago they won the championship. They give Slaughtneil a very good game in the Ulster Championship, and that was a Slaughtneil team, that's been quite dominant over a period of years. So that's where Kilcar were coming from. They're coming in with that wild heart of last year, kind of thinking, maybe they should have retained the title, and Gweedore got the big headlines and the big bright lights. For me, Killybegs just have to try and stay in the game as long as possible. Now, that's easy for me to sit here in the middle of the week and say that. It's how you do that is the one. But they just have to try and make a game of it. I went to Fintra back maybe 6-7 years ago. They played Kilcar in an opening round game. I think it was back when it was the two-legged. They made a real battle of it that night. They just sort of targeted Patrick McBurdy that night. But look through Kilcar's team. You have the McHughes, the McBurtys. You look at Andy, Matthew McLean, Conor Doherty. You can go through them all. There's so much that'll hurt you. You could keep 5 or 6 of those men quiet, and Kilcar still have ability to hurt you.
Should Killybegs take the attitude in? We've got promotion to Division 1. We've got out of the group. We're in the last 8 of the championship. We're in real bonus territory here now. The chances of beating Kilcar are pretty remote, but let's go out and have a go at it.
You would like to think that, Charlie, but it can't. Reality is different. These boys. The manager has a reputation, and the players have a bit of pride, so they probably don't want to do that as much as they might like that. I can't see that happening, Charlie. And you can only see one winner. No matter how defensive Killybegs go, what the quality is just. It's like comparing Dublin and the Leinster Championship to a Westmeath or a Longford, a team that's a couple. It doesn't happen. They're not going to beat them.
Yeah.
Now I said.
Well, you have been known to be wrong.
But I think Kilcar are just on a different level, you know what I mean? And Killybegs are a good team, and are improving and not being disrespectful.
A lot of good young players, but especially in attack. Those young Cunningham boys, that young Jack McSherry boy impressed me greatly there, and that Sean Gurl guy. They're not bad.
But I don't think it's in Rory Gallagher's makeup as a coach to go all out and go toe to toe against a team that he knows that are probably a good bit better than him.
Suppose think about that too. Rory would know the Kilcar. He's worked with them as well, he would know what the story is with them. But listen, even ourselves there last week, like we try to keep the score down, but. Listen, it's easier said than done. Like there's just men coming from everywhere, and they have serious. Like I won't say anything about them. They just wild. They have serious pace, and like football now, you have pace. Like it's brilliant.
I take it all three. You think Kilcar won?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Another derby: Naomh Conaill versus Glenfin. Francie, I'll start with you. Glenfin. Let's not underestimate them.
No, definitely not. And Glenties will know they're in the game this week. Glenfin will bring it. They'll bring it. It'll be edgy. They'll bring it to. They'll play it. And the way they want it to be played and on their terms. Listen, it's another derby game. And there's no love lost between the two clubs. So it'll be an interesting battle. And Glenfin, have been getting scores up the pitch. And listen, free kicks are. If you give away a free kick at all, Jared Ward's putting him over the bar, and probably if he had been on the free today against Glenswilly, he got injured, as Chris alluded to, and they probably asked for the draw. If he wouldn't have been injured, they would have kicked on, they would have won the game. Just in Glenty's thing there, seeing Glenty's last week against McCool's, Glenty's are trying to be more, offensive, trying to go keep it up, and they just, I think it's the first time I've seen them, and they didn't have many bodies back, and they tried to play man on man, and they're getting the scores. So it'll be interesting this week how they handle Glenfin, because Glenfin will play with bodies back and try and counter them. Will they be able to turn the ball up the pitch, or will they be able to Glenfin, because Glenfin have pace in their team as well.
Yeah, big pace.
A lot of young fellas in there now as well, and they'll be looking to get. They'll know that Glenties will be looking to play high up on the press, and if you get them behind that press, you get scores.
Yeah, and you have to show your hand now. It's knockout now, Chris. You don't have another game next week that if you drop a point or drop 2 points, you can recover. This is what it's all about now, quarter-final stage.
Yeah, it's do or die at this stage. Like you don't get up next Monday morning and think what we can do, right? If you're beating Sunday, you're beaten, you're gone. So you gotta go out basically with what you have. There's no sort of sitting back and holding it for next week, because next week at this stage doesn't exist for these teams. They just gotta get over Saturday or Sunday. Just in terms of what Francie was saying about Glenty's pressing high and trying to get in behind it, you look at the pace Glenfin have as well. They're a team that attacks with serious pace. I've touched on Aaron McGlynn, like he's an Irish champion athlete. Multiple times he's represented Ireland in European Championships and stuff. Now that in terms of what does that mean, Gaelic football is serious pace, and he can play ball as well. We've seen him that day even in Milford. You get the ball and has hands deep, and he just drives and there's no one that has, like, whatever about football in the world, they would see that pace is so hard to play against. For me as well, the venue on Sunday, it's in Glenswilly, which has a bit of a claustrophobic kind of a feel to it. Glenfin will be delighted with that, I would suggest. Yeah. If this was in Balbafair, Letterkenny, possibly this. But for me, of the 4 quarterfinals, this is the one that possibly has the best chance of being an upset.
There you are. Frank McGlynn aspect to it, we can't ignore that, because no team's a one-man team, but the influence that he has in Glenfin, I mean, we've all seen it, John.
We've all seen it, and he's the glue that keeps them together, and he's the experienced man, and they look up to him, and he's their leader. And in fairness to Frank, sometimes county players don't always perform for their club, or doesn't have.
He's the opposite.
He's the opposite. He brings it, and they follow him, and he raises his game, and naturally the other players get a big lift from it. And he's so vital to him. And I have to agree 100% with Chris. I think he stole my notes there for that one. I think, I was thinking the same, that Glenswilly, although it's not an overly small pitch, it'll play small with a big crowd there, leaning over the fence. It will be intimidating, and that will suit the underdog more than Naomh Conaill. So, Chris could be possibly right. There could be an upset there. I still think Glenties have a lot of quality, Charlie. They have a lot of heart too for the last 2 years. They're playing better this year. They have a lot of good players, Charlie, and
strong bench as well.
Strong bench, aye. And when it comes down to it, when it gets tough in the second half, when it's getting tight or whatever, you just think that Glenties will be stronger physically. And Glenfin haven't been at this stage before for a couple of years, and you just feel that Glenties will have slightly too much for them. But
Glenties for you then?
Glenties for me.
Francie?
Glenties.
It's Glenties for me, but it's a very, very hesitant
big
one.
question mark.
Yeah.
Okay. The reigning champions Gweedore have, I'll not say staggered their way to win the group, but they haven't been hugely impressive in winning the group. Weren't impressive against St Eunan's. Were okay against St Michael's, in fairness to them, in the second half. They controlled the ball well and had a comfortable victory, Francie, in Ardra, as we expected. Haven't been at their best, but weren't at their best in the group last year, and then suddenly came into a quarter-final against Bundoran, and the world exploded.
Yeah, and the top of the group again, so that's imposed the big thing for them, but defensively, Eunan's 6 points, St Michael's 1-3, and Ardra 8 points, They're not conceding much, I suppose alluded to last week, that they weren't scoring much, and this week they're playing now. It's like this time last year they were playing Bundoran again, in the quarter final. I think it'll be a different Bundoran team they'll be facing this time last year. I think Bundoran were a wee bit naive, and Bundoran came out and played man on man against them, and they could just cut them open. So I think
it was over at half time.
Over at half time, yeah. So I think they'll be a bit more cooler this year. Maxie's involved with them too, and he'll just know that the threat from he managed in Eunan's last year against Gweedore and trying up with a plan, to keep it down. But just on the Gweedore, too. Gweedore's, they're big players now. Will start to step up. They know themselves. This is where it counts now. 3 games and you won the championship. The group games probably they had the Eunan's game, and when they got the 2 games over them, they knew that Ardra game that they were safe. At that stage, and you just can see Gweedore, going well now and starting to put their best foot forward against Bundoran, and you can see Gweedore won by a big margin this weekend.
Yeah, they need to come good now, John, because they're getting into the nitty gritty of it now.
They are, Charlie, and we've said that their form has been so far, although they've topped the group. But you just wonder, is there a hangover from winning the Ulster title last year, the long season? We'll get our answers in the next few weeks. But are they going to be able to hit the heights that they hit last year and that brilliant football that they played from this stage on in the Donegal Championship, where they started to express themselves, put up big scores? They had a lot of, they hadn't won it for 12 years, Charlie. The big momentum behind them last year. It's different, Charlie, when you win it. It's hard to retain it. It's the whole thing. Boys go away. Boys take the eye off the ball a wee bit. They mightn't train as hard. They mightn't put in the same effort. Just wee things that they don't think is happening, but they are happening.
Yeah.
And it just takes the edge off them. So for me, this game might show us maybe a wee crack in Gweedore. Are they as good as they were last year? Are they as hungry? Are they as focused? Can Bundoran close the gap? Can Bundoran make it hard for them?
Yeah.
And just see, are Gweedore just not at where they were last year? We'll see, Charlie, on Sunday.
Bundoran, Jimmy Brennan, Alan Russell, Big Tommy in the forward line. That Alan Russell's more than useful player as well. And they have good solid defenders, Paul Brennan and Murphy and those guys. So obviously they'll have a different approach than they had last year. They won't be as open, Chris, we suspect, but they're going to have to really play at their best to have any chance.
They can't give away anything to Gweedore, because they will go for the throat. They do have that sort of make-up about them in Gweedore. The fact Maxie is in with them, look, they will be well set up, and they'll probably be certainly a lot tighter than they were last year. Gweedore's probably like the fella playing poker during the group stages. Was just a matter of kind of not going all in and going out too early. It was just a matter of getting through the group. Kind of like Naomh Conaill on a different level. Naomh Conaill were in a group that they were probably always going to top. So again, it's just a matter of getting that done with minimal fuss. Gweedore, there was always going to be fuss, because the big thing was on them playing St Eunan's, playing the derby against St Michael's, and the fact they had to go to the bridge. But again, they've come through that now. They can probably not relax a wee bit, but the pressure in many ways is kind of off, and it's a new pressure now for Gweedore. I think it's funny, just what John was saying. Sometimes, you look at, say, Dublin, the All-Ireland, people always chat about hunger, and we've heard it about the Kilkenny hurlers, but sometimes hunger can be the problem for the team that has just come on, because you're working so long to do it, and then it happens and it's over, and Jesus, time to start again, to get that lift again and get that sort of levels of hunger, aggression, of whatever you call it, to get over the line, maybe just aren't what they were. And something I mentioned a couple of weeks ago about Gweedore as well, they've got 3 or 4 boys that were in the county squad last year, coming with the county level training for 8 or 9 months that they haven't had this year. And again, you look at what Kilcar have come in, sort of a fresh group this year, if you like, with that. Long-term questions about Gweedore, but still fancy to get over the line this week.
Just one thing there, Terry. Yeah. It might be in Gweedore's favour, and we're all chatting about it, is that everyone's building up Kilcar. And Gweedore might be saying, listen, no one's giving us much respect here. We're also champions, we're county champions, and everyone says Kilcar this, Kilcar that. They're better than Gweedore. So if you were sitting in the Gweedore dressing room and I was hearing that, by Jesus, I wouldn't be happy, so it might be a bit of motivation for them, because a lot of people are making Kilcar hot favourites, not hot favourites, but favourites for this championship. So if Gweedore are looking for a bit of motivation, I suppose they're getting plenty.
And it wouldn't be like you to go out and rattle up then when the match started then, John.
they're getting plenty of ammunition in this studio anyway. We're all tipping Kilcar.
Absolutely. All right, just a couple of stats before we move on, and thanks again to our sponsors, Kellys Centra here at the Mountaintop. We really appreciate their support with our championship podcast each week here. 30.5 was the average score on week 3 of the group stages, and for the championship overall, 29.5 points per game. Not too bad, really. Interestingly, and this is only stats here, McCool's were in the top 8 in terms of scores, and Malin were in the top 8 in terms of scores for, and neither of the two of them made the quarter-finals. St Eunan's and Killybegs were actually joint 9th down there in the scoring, but just shows you, if you have a good defence, you can make it up there as well.
Football works then, is that what you're saying?
That's it, absolutely. Well, we predicted the last 8 in the intermediate, so we got something right last week, John. Maybe it's because you weren't here. But I'm not sure. But I had this list, and there was one question mark about Downing's possibly overtaking St Naomh's. Francie, the standout draw in the quarter-final is Naomh Conaill against St Naomh's, because both of them teams would have thought we have a chance of winning this.
Yeah, funny. I was chatting to Patrick Mogan there last night just about that, and it's a tight draw for both teams.
Yeah.
It's up in Fanta too. It's a tight pitch up there too, and it'll be an interesting game. And whatever team goes out, it'll be battle hardened for that. That's probably probably Cloughanilly and Airua, and then St Naomh's and Glen. That'd be probably the one of the 4 teams. And St Naomh's, as I said, in Ballyshannon were going for promotion to Division 1, and Cloughanilly were in Division 1.
Yeah.
So listen, it'll be a tight game up there this weekend, and just as St Naomh's, I think that this weekend I think they'll beat Glen. I think they have too much firepower for them, and I think that they rely a lot. Glen are relying a lot on Aaron Doherty, and he's getting 7 and 8 points a game, So I think if they can tie him down this weekend, I think St Naomh's are a good chance of winning.
Yeah, 2 of the matches in the quarter-finals match teams, Chris, that were in the same groups against one another, which I don't agree with personally. Airua against Naomh Conaill, Naomh Breed against Red Hughes. They only played last week, in fact. Something should be done about that, because there's enough flexibility there to make sure that teams don't play a team they've already played. But anyway, it is what it is. Airua against Naomh Conaill. Airua, big favourites.
You'd have to say, I suppose, Airua, the team coming, they would have expected to win that final last year. They probably maybe were guilty of a bit of complacency, a bit of naivety against Glenfin last year in the final. Coming in now this year, they'll want to give it a big rattle again. Just on that point of the repeat fixtures, it's very easy to sort. You've got 3 groups, but the 3 winners and the best second place team through as seeded teams that they can't meet it. And the 2 teams then from the one group can't meet one another. Just because if you have any kind of
another increased incentives then to play to score and
exactly. John, we've been talking about Cloughanilly. They staggered a bit at the early stages. They got a late winner in their first game. They got to come back for a draw against Red Hughes, and last week they had as Francie said, against Naomh Conaill, was always going to be a one. Jason McGee came back in the second half of that game, which is a bonus. They're playing Naomh Conaill. They'll be expected to win that.
They will, Cherry, and obviously they're a standout team because they're in Division 1 and Naomh Conaill are in Division 3, so you're thinking about Cloughanilly. But Francie's alluded to this at the start of the show way back 2 or 3 weeks ago, that Cloughanilly find it hard to get up against some of these teams that they're expected to beat, and that obviously happened against Naomh Breed, and struggled against other teams too. But if they've anything in them, Charlie, they need to go and win that intermediate championship, and you'd expect them to beat Naomh Conaill. Though Chris, you would know more about them. They're battle hardened too. They've had a couple of good victories, but it's a big step up for them.
It's huge. Like, I think for the boys, the season they've had and the year they had, I think staying in intermediate was a big thing because they were almost relegated to Division 4. Like the big thing of all playing all the games away from home and stuff, and difficult year to change manage in the middle of the summertime. I think they're kind of in bonus territory at this stage now. I know they were beaten in Glen on Saturday night, and I was chatting to a couple of the boys, and they reckoned if they got Glen again, they learned an awful lot from the game. Maybe, in terms of a lot of young fellas coming in there this year for the first time, but you're playing a team that's really maybe 2.5 tiers above you in terms of the standings. I know like the likes of Farmers going well at the minute, probably have him and Jason if Jason starts on Saturday.
Yeah.
But overall, Cloughanneely get over the line. But defeat on Saturday wouldn't be a big blow for the boys. They've achieved a thing. They've managed to steady the ship and won't now be in a relegation playoff, which is a big thing.
Francie, Naomh Breed against Red Hughes. Is that a hard one to call?
Yeah, they played last week too.
They played last week.
Yeah. So listen, it's a funny one. You play each other 2 weeks in a row, but I still think Naomh Breed. I think they've been in the last 2-3 years in the championship. They beat Cloughanneely last year. And then went out tamely into Glenfin. So I think it's about time that they really stepped up, and I would have fancied them to beat Red Hughes this week.
Okay. Junior semi-finals. We better mention this before we start. Narossa are through. I got a text from the Narossa goalkeeper to say it was after a victory and a defeat. The return of their veteran goalkeeper made all the difference. That's from Declan Bonner, by the way. So anyway, they're through to the quarter final against Doris. But we'll start with Buncrana against Moville. Buncrana, everybody's favourites, unbeaten, 3 out of 3. Moville have drawn one and won one. Were they in a group of 3, Chris? They were? Were they? Yeah. So 2 unbeaten teams, John, but Buncrana look far too strong for everybody here.
They do. Well, I don't know, Charlie. I think maybe Convoy might have a say in that, because Convoy got promoted to Division 2, but no, Buncrana should have too much for Moville at the weekend, and they've got a good few players back. Is Ryan Bradley back?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jiggers there, and the
Keelan's there.
McGonigal and
John Campbell.
So a lot of quality there. Like they probably should seriously junior team, but at the same time, like Convoy have got promoted, so they're battle hardened. So I wouldn't write them out of it. But for that game anyway, you think Buncrana will have too much.
Convoy are playing Muff, Francie, and Muff for the team you mentioned last week that got through. Lost their 2 games, but they're still through and scoring difference.
That's right. And I suppose on Convoy, I was chatting to Lawrence last week, and he was telling me he's lost in the last few weeks 5 of his players to immigration, and he was just kind of making the point. They've got promoted in the league, and now they're going up into Division 2, and they've a couple of boys maybe they can bring back from London now and again, but it's not every week. It's a disappointment because they've worked so hard, and they're probably, in the overall context of the junior championship, the one team that probably are capable of really putting it up to Buncrana.
Francie, Oris against Narossa, just gone back. Will Oris won that, or is it hard to want to call that?
It's a funny one. I have a wild funny feeling for Narossa. I was just chatting to what do you call him last night? The Bonner. Donegal Bonner's young fella, what's his name?
Christian. Yeah.
And we were just chatting about it, and they have a very. There's some of the boys, they're all like 40 years of age and 38. That's the kind of players they have, and they're giving everything they have. The Declan's and goals for them, that says it all. That's just for filling the fixtures, just to keep the team going. And listen, they're what they call they're playing this weekend. I give them a chance this weekend. And I just think because maybe it's the last chance for them,
Yeah. Letterkenny Gales against Carndonagh. Carndonagh kind of Jekyll and Hyde. They've lost heavily and they've won heavily. Letterkenny Gales for that one, Chris?
And I suppose Conor O'Donnell doing the Crusade a few weeks ago as well. Big blow, Carndonagh, one of the best young players in the county. And again, we say this about a lot of teams, but there's some teams, when they have the marquee man they can't do without. And Gales have going right and steady. You'd fancy them for this one.
Okay. All right then, senior B quarter-finals are Kilcar, Glenswilly, St Eunan's, Termon, Dunlow, Glenfin and Naomh Conaill, Gweedore. And the intermediate B quarter-finals, Naomh Columba versus Cloughanneely, St Nolls versus Naomh Fannick Gales versus Airua, Red Hughes against Burt or Naomh Breed, who've got to play off. And I didn't mention the intermediate relegation playoff semi-final, Burt against Naomh Ultan, and the losers of that will play Downings in a final playoff as well. Just to remind you that the relegation matches in the senior, 4 Masters against Malin and Ardra against Dunlow. Francie, you
just on that, Justin Burt, we got the relegation from the seniors last year, now they're in the relegation from
I was going to make the point about Burt, John. They looked like one in Division 3, wasn't it, for a long time? And then they collapsed. And they haven't won a game in the Championship. What a turnaround.
Unbelievable. They had 5 games and all they needed to win was one game to get promoted. And the wheels have fallen off the wagon completely.
7 or 8 now in a row.
I think they got a couple of players sent off in games and the whole thing has seemed to fall apart. It's quite remarkable because even at, and that intermediate, you thought they might have been able to get a result somewhere, do something, pull their season back together. But no, the wheels have, it's quite remarkable for them.
We better mention the C Championship because I got my knuckles wrapped for not mentioning it so far. Not from John Haran, I'd have to say, because I think he's playing in it. 1 round of games to go. McCool's versus Glenfin, St Eunan's versus Glenswilly. That's a good one, John.
I get a slap at Charlie.
You get a slap at Charlie Bonner.
Maybe a few other boys too.
And might have suggest a couple of them make it.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
You're favourites to go through. You've won your 2 games so far, so are you through already? What way does that work?
I think you're in the final already.
Are we?
Yeah.
So they
can rest you for the final.
I won't get battered in Glenswilly.
I don't know. McCool's beat Glenswilly by a point. Glenswilly beat Glenfin, so that McCool's Glenfin one probably decide who goes through to the final as well. Right, I'm just going to remind you who you tipped, boys. Group A, John tipped Gweedore and St Eunan's. Everybody did, in fact. That's the quickest way to do that. In Group B, John, it was Glenswilly. Sorry, it was Group B. Naomh Conaill and Killybegs. It was the same for everybody there. We were all in agreement there. Group C, John went for Glenswilly and Milford. Francie and myself went for Glenswilly and Glenfin. And Chris went for Glenswilly and Milford. So none of us got it right. Okay. One each. And we all went for, 3 of you went for Kilcar and Bundoran. I was the odd man out there. I went for Kilcar and Termon. But Francie and the boys let me down badly.
1 point defeat.
Cost me. That's it then. Listen, big excitement with the quarterfinals. We can tell you the senior venues, a double header in McCool Park on Saturday. First of all, it's Milford against St Eunan's at 5 o'clock, is right. And at 6:45, it's Kilcar against Killybegs. At 12:30 in Glenswilly, and I'll just talk to John about that in a second or so. 12:30, Naomh Conaill take on Glenfin out in Glenswilly, and at 4:30 it's back to O'Donnell Park then, which is handy, convenient enough. It's Gweedore against Bundoran. 12:30 start, John. You were taking a wee bit of an issue with it, I think, on Twitter, weren't you?
Charlie, I was and I've said it. Great time for the CCC. Frankie and them, they've done a tremendous job getting the league games done, and the championship run off, and they're doing their best. But it doesn't add up to me, Charlie. It's crying out for a double header and O'Donnell Park. 12:30 is very. And I know there's something about reserve games and all that, but
I think they're trying to fit in an intermediate game. Are they in the middle there?
I think they're fitting in the Gweedore. The reserve game from Gweedore is going to be the curtain raiser in O'Donnell Park, and afterwards in Glenswilly there's a reserve game I think involving Glenfin. But I was just looking at it, Charlie, you read out, I think there's about 23 or 24 there's too many fixtures on. Like if you're the ordinary Joe supporter now, you can pay on the double header in Balbafay on Saturday evening, fair enough, but you have to go and pay 10 or 12 or 15 quid into Glenswilly, then come on the road and do the same. To me, you should sort of prioritise the senior games and put them as double header Saturday and a double header Sunday somewhere, and then work back from Could
I suggest, and I'll be shot for saying it, Francie, the B championships in the senior and in the intermediate could be played the week after the senior final and the week after that and get it finished, instead of piling all these fixtures in now for the next couple of weeks. And it mightn't be too bad next week when we go down to the same. This weekend, as Chris said, there's so many matches. Like to try to get venues and referees.
That's the big thing. I would say even for the referees there,
surely
to get them
we could play round on the 27th and then the 3rd of November and even a final on the 10th of November. We've done it before.
Well, the thing about the reserve championship, there's no Ulster. The senior thing has to run off, so you have to get that a wee bit of priority here. You know, and you would probably get attendance to a reserve final if it was run, maybe the week after the reserve or the senior championship, because the seniors are getting ready for Ulster, the reserves aren't. And just to give it a bit of what they call too, keep people interested in it as well. So there's no reason, like as you said, all them games this weekend, I think they could,
just a bit of breathing space.
And another point, Charlie, I suppose the county board will say if you bought your season ticket, you're getting great value, which is true. But even to give some sort of a ticket for this weekend, maybe €30 or €25, give
a concession somewhere.
A concession. You got to
give 4 or 5 matches.
You got to give. You got to think outside the box, Charlie. And sometimes county boards do. And I know in Tipperary, I used to see there on Twitter for their hurling championships, there could be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe Monday, and you could buy a ticket for the weekend for €25, and you could see maybe 5 senior championship games. You know, great value like that.
Derry and Tyrone play a lot like that, don't they, at the weekends as well? Yeah.
I think too, like for the basic sort of ordinary club person, there's a wild ball. Like if you take say Termon this weekend, the reserves are playing on Saturday evening, their ladies are playing on Sunday at the Burn Road. The reserves, obviously, I think they're playing Convoy against St Eunan's. But then they're hosting an intermediate championship game on Saturday afternoon. So that's putting, people have to go out and get the place ready and be there. And then they obviously want to go to Convoy and watch the game, and then they're back on Sunday. Like it's a lot of strain for people like that as well.
Yeah. It's always good to end on a good moan anyway, so we'll be back moaning again next week after the quarterfinals and see what happens. Thanks to John and Francie and Chris once again, and to our sponsors, Kellys Centra, here at the mountaintop. Do your shopping there. We appreciate their support. We'll talk to you next week.
Donegal Sport Hub Donegal Daily Championship Podcast. Brought to you in association with Kellys Centra, multi-award-winning store, Mountaintop Letterkenny, providing 24-hour service 7 days a week.